All right, we are back here on the Sky Guys podcast. Time to kick off our new summer project. We're going to revisit The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian and Grogu is coming to theaters next summer, so we're going to go back and get stuff we did not get before the podcast started. We're going to go back and rewatch episode by episode of Mandalorian, starting season one now, season two in January. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, man, his voice here in the narration every single week. Pete Stories here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. Took us what, 4 5 years to get a season one Mando rewatch going. But yeah, it's excited to talk about it. Excited to rewatch that first episode here, chapter one. And I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think all these years later.
Yep. Also here with us today, the our client of this podcast, Nick Frietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
Fantastic. Um, this is something I've wanted to do for a while. Excited we're finally getting to it.
Yes. So, a little backstory for the audience. We'll get more into it in a few minutes here. Like, we as a group came together at the end of season two of Mandalorian, so we not as a group watched season one and season two. So this is sort of the idea here. That's with the movie coming up. It's a good time to go back and complete our catalog a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we all watched it individually, so it's good to, I guess, hear what you guys thought of the individual episodes. I know we've spoken about like the seasons at whole, at large, but we've never spoke about the episodes individually.
Yep, we'll put that in mind here. And Pete want to subscribe to us on the Sky Guys. Do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys here at podcast platforms, find episodes there. And we have a fun summer coming up here of Mandalorian content. So we'll bring some of our favorite guests along the way to join us after this week. So make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We started that with Andor season two. Um, yeah, just all great stuff happening this summer. Nick and I are back. We're gonna have those guests that you were talking about, Mike. So this is definitely an exciting time for the Sky Guys. And let's get nostalgic. Let's talk about a little Mando season one, shall we?
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to you guys watching the YouTube videos, especially during the video game club, the Code Tour content. You guys were all over that. So stick around. We're giving you more OG content now. And Nick, people want to follow social media. How can I do that?
You can follow at Sky Guys Podcast pretty much anywhere, and I'm going to start a new thing starting this week where I say to the audience each week, if you're on Spotify, give us a rating. If you're on Apple, give us a review.
Yeah, leave those star ratings. They help.
Only if it's
Got it.
5 star. If it's anything lower, don't do it,
I actually think
please.
ones help too. I think the more ratings there are, the better it is. I don't know if it's
Of
actually
course.
matters what they are, even if they're ones. So if you want to give us a one, go ahead.
If you also want, just tell us why.
Yeah, of
Be
course.
nice.
Yeah, we know what we can do to improve your listening experience here. And speak of the social media comments here, we're going to go to our social media comment of the week from TikTok again. This is from last episode of the Star Wars Video Game Club when Max Roberts Nicholas discussed what a potential live action adaptation Knights of the Republic could look like. This is from HZHRT15 on TikTok says, unless it's a standalone like Rogue One, Star Wars should always be a TV show. It's much too vast to tell in 2 hours. That's why the sequels and second sequels sucked. So, Nick, I know you've said this point before. You think Star Wars functions better as television.
I agree. That's not why the sequels, and I don't know what the second sequels are. Does he mean like, I don't know what that means, but that's not why they suck. But I do agree. I do agree that Star Wars works better as a show now. There's just so much more to digest. You're stuck to, like he said, in 2 hours. Completely agree with that point. Putting things on TV lets you stretch it out a lot more. And you see that we're going to get into Mandalorian chapter one,
Yeah,
the first ever episode. You see it here. If this was a show, think about how much different, I mean, a movie, think about how much different it would have been. This is a very slow paced first episode. And you can't do that. And you can't set the pacing and tell a story the way you want to if it's on the big screen. You got to fit, like, I don't know, 3 hours max. So. I completely agree, except for that last part. I don't agree that's why the sequels are bad.
yeah, P. I think I agree with this commentary. Like it's something like Max and Nick and I discussed also in terms of like, especially you're adapting a video game and like the storyline of that video game is is very deep, and you visit a lot of planets and like trying to do all that in 2 hours. I think is a lot. I think kind of if you kind of show with something like that, I think it'll be a very much more complete experience. Sort of like Last of Us. I know season one was great. Season two seemed to have mixed reception from the audiences, but that sort of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, let's call the base storyline of a video game or base gameplay of a video game is probably around 20 hours. I feel like that's the benchmark. So 20 hours of gameplay translated to 2 hours is pretty difficult. So I'm not sure what the official runtime when it comes to just playing main story quests for KOTOR is, but um, if you use that average of a 20-hour game, it's a good amount of content to try to cram in if it's a movie.
It's about 30 hours.
So there you go, even more. There's games that are so bloated nowadays, you could probably put 100 hours into the game. But yeah, I think video, like you said, video games, I think need to be a show or like a long running movie series.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the sweet spot we came out with last week was like 2 weeks ago when they were on was sort of like Nick D'Alessio said the Andor model, like 12 episodes, and I think that would encompass it. I agree with him.
I think that's fair.
All right, let's go to some Star Wars news, and it's Emmy time, Nick. So, like right at this day of recording, the Emmy noms dropped. You have lost the mute button, sir.
I didn't lose it. I didn't even try. I just started talking. All right, so here we go. Andor was nominated for 14 Emmy Awards. Um, that's a lot, obviously. Uh, with three of the biggest being Best Drama Series. Season one was also nominated for that. The Best Guest Actor in a Drama Series, that's for Forrest Whitaker in episode 5 specifically. And Best VO Performance, that's Alan Tudyk, who plays K2SO in episode 11. Of the 11 technical nominees, they got 7 of which were from the 8th episode, which was known as like, the one.
The Gourmet Massacre, that's that episode.
Yeah, that's the one that, everyone was talking about. That I guess that was one night, right? It was 8, 9, and
Yeah, 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9, excuse me. And everyone was talking about those, especially those two, 8 and 9. And I always said 7 was a great episode too, but 8 and 9 were just so unbelievable that they just kind of got 7 kind of just got lost.
Yeah, I think great job by Andor getting nominated as much as it was. I think the headline though, Pete, is that Diego Luna was shut out of the best like lead actor in a drama, and like all the supporting actors were shut out. And I think the big complaint on social media is that like the most mediocre season, The White Lotus, got like so basically swallowed up all the nominations in those categories. And this is what I've said for a long time is like the Emmys needs to limit like how many nominees a certain show can get, because if you listen to what the Emmy noms tell you, the only shows you need to watch on television this year were White Lotus, Severance, or The Last of Us. Everything else like did not matter.
I think that's to me a little dangerous. I think you shouldn't limit the nominations a show gets because if it's really good, it deserves a nomination. But
I said to a category.
sure, but that still though, I still think that if someone's doing really well, you don't want to snub them. However, what I will say, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, is I feel like sometimes these things are popularity contests, and Andor was not the top show of the year, right? What you just said, those three shows are the most popular, most talked about, the most advertised, the probably most viewed of the year. So it makes sense that they're going to get more of the nominations. Not to say that they do deserve it versus Andor doesn't deserve it or does deserve it. I think it's just the nature of the beast when it comes to voting on something. And if you have the most popular shows at the forefront of everyone's mind, it's very easy to find the nominations in those. So, you know, I think it's just the nature of the beast. I just don't know how you can fix it if it is broken. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's that.
I think it's a little like I think it's for me it's a combination of like laziness and from the voters in a sense. We've seen this with the Oscars too, where they're like they won't watch certain movies. They feel like it's too long or it doesn't fit their like high society vibe. And Star Wars and or being a sci-fi based property, I think hurts in that regard.
It's a possibility. I also think too, you watch what you want to watch. I think when it comes to like Emmys, they probably should be a little bit more unbiased. But at the end of the day, life goes on if your show won an Emmy or not, right? For the actors and actresses and the people that worked very hard in their projects, I want them to be able to be recognized. But like for us consumers watching it, like if the show wins an Emmy or not, we either loved it or we hated it, right?
Yep. All right, Nick. More Emmy news, it looks like.
Yeah, everyone's favorite, The Acolyte, received one technical Emmy nomination for sound editing for a half-hour comedy or drama series. They are getting real specific with these categories, huh?
Yeah, and very funny that we complain about the runtime and Acolyte snuck in the half hour drama category.
Yeah. Isn't that so specific?
Yeah. Yeah, they try and give out as many as they can. I think I went through the release of the Emmy nominations before. It was 68 pages long.
Wow. Well, that was number two. Number three here is David Corenswet is the star of the new Superman movie that hit theaters this past weekend, or at time of recording, that is at least. Was asked whether he would rather play Superman again in like a sequel or whatnot, or if he would rather appear in a Jedi in a Star Wars movie. He chose Jedi. Now, I think he's definitely going to be Superman again.
Yes,
So he, I don't know, does he not want to do it? I'll do it if he doesn't want to.
he definitely wants to do it, but I saw this news here from the social media clip up Pete again. This is from our Twitter. Like we put out like when he said this year, he's one of us.
Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah.
is. But you would imagine the whole plan with this whole new DCU is to build a new universe, and if you're starting with Superman, he better be there again, right?
Yeah, he'll be there again. No question.
And with this movie doing as well as it did, I know it made a lot of money and it's got pretty good reviews. I don't know if either of you saw it. I have not, but I
I
would imagine they'll keep going.
By the time this podcast comes out, like in your ears, I will have seen it.
I don't have plans to see it, but you know what? Maybe I'll go this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I'm planning to go this weekend.
All right. Next, here's George Lucas is going to be at the San Diego Comic-Con for the first time as part of a panel with Doug Chan and Guillermo del Toro to promote the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art.
Good for
Very
George.
cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Next here is that Ryan Johnson did an interview. I'm not sure who the interview was with, but he did an interview where he said his Star Wars trilogy never got past the concept stage, and that he may be open to returning to Star Wars someday, but he's very busy with other projects at the moment. This tells me this was never really going to happen. It was kind of just like they reached out to him and said, "Hey, we might want to do some more Star Wars work with you. Can you start planning something?" And then they never really heard back.
Yeah, so Pete, the interview was with the Rolling Stone after the finale of his show. Poker Face is a great show, by the way. I recommend if you have a Peacock subscription. But to me, like my question with this is, why were we advertising the Ryan Johnson trilogy when it was just sort of a text like, oh, we should do something. Cool. I'll think about it. And then they never got off the ground.
I mean, I think it was in that moment of we're just going to show you all the Star Wars stuff we want to show you, right? I think there was I think the Star Wars celebration we had like that big graphic of
Yep.
everything coming for Disney Star Wars, and I think it was a overpromised graphic, right? And we've talked about it before. I think it was just in that kind of, Disney Star Wars was not doing that great, and they didn't have many properties at that time. I think at that point, or I shouldn't say properties, show ideas and movie ideas. So I think they were just throwing everything out there. Look all the stuff we're doing, right? And try getting the people excited, which I can't blame them too much, but it just, it's a bad look when things don't come to fruition, and that this is what's happening with a lot of these projects.
I will also throw out as a theory, Nick, that this is something that they really pitched, like when they saw the critical reviews for Last Jedi, which remember were great. And then once they saw the audience reviews, they're kind of like, maybe we'll put the brakes on that one.
Did this ever actually show up on stage though?
It did not go on stage. I think Kathleen Kennedy mentioned it.
She did mention it that like was it ever like said to us they're making a Ryan Johnson trilogy, or is this just all those Instagram posts said they were?
No, it was one of those things where it was like, remember when like the Game of Thrones guy was supposed to be doing a trilogy also? Like, it was in that sort of vein where they sort of say, oh, like we have these guys working on a movie, or we have Ryan Johnson's gonna do a trilogy after Last Jedi.
So it was never really up on the stage and shown to us, but my point.
Yeah, it was not shown on stage. It was not on on that infamous graphic from 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Interesting, but I guess that's as far as they got. Next is that the Andor writer here, Bo Willimon,
Yep.
who's also co-writing the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie, says he would love to do his own Star Wars show about Saw Gerrera in the Andor timeline, or Andor time period, rather.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. I mean, if he wrote Andor, it's going to be more like Andor. I'm in.
He wrote the Prison Break arc, which is one of the best arcs in the show, aside from Gorman.
Right. And last thing on the news here is that there are rumors going around online that Disney wants to bring Mara Jade, excuse me, the wife of Luke Skywalker in Legends material into canon in some form. And to me, this is just like you missed your chance.
Yeah, I think this is a little late for this development, Pete. I know I do feel like there is a way you could do it theoretically, where like if she shows up in the Mandoverse timeline and then like is gone before the before Kylo kills all the Jedi in the temple, like you could see it, but I think they missed the window.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to say about that, Mike. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's really the only time period I could see it naturally happening. Um, we just got to move on from this. I think it's time. We've talked about it ad nauseum, right? We got to move on from this timeline. Let them do what they got to do, and let's just get some new characters in there. Nothing has to be, not everything in Star Wars has to connect back to Jedi, right? So I think we can move forward.
It's a shame they missed the boat, Nick, because I know in Legend this is a cool character.
Yeah, she's beloved, beloved character. People wanted to see that. People were really upset that they didn't get that in. I'll just say The Last Jedi because in The Force Awakens we didn't really get to know Luke very much. He didn't have any lines or anything. But um, yeah, it's a shame because people wanted to see a very different thing than what they got. Whether it was good or not, that's a different discussion. It's just people didn't get what they wanted to see.
Okay, that it for the news?
Yes.
All right, so that's it for the news here. Going into now, we're gonna kind of like discuss Mandalorian chapter one. And Nick, this was your big idea. You've been insisting on this for years. So tell the audience why this is the right time to be doing this.
Because we have nothing else to do. That is why. That is 100% why. But I guess it's not the wrong time because I mean this is the first kind of realistic break we've had in a while where we really don't know the next show
Yeah.
release date. We have a couple of things on the horizon that are coming, but we don't know when. So this is a good time to do it in that we don't have our next show lined up yet. So it's a good time for us to dig in into something that's in the backlog, and this was one of the things in the backlog. And we do have more Mando verse content coming, so it's not like we're just watching something that's over and done with. This is all everything the things that happen in these episodes are still important for the future of the Mandoverse.
Yeah, and also we have a movie coming up, which is very important to mention there.
True, I guess that is our next big project, right?
That's the next big thing, unless they somehow sneak the mall show in before that.
Yeah, so I guess that is our next thing.
All right, so go back to chapter one. We talked about this, I think, during intro. We're curious how this holds up, like 6 years after it dropped in 2019. And Pete, I'll start with you. Like, what was it like going back and revisiting this episode?
It was awesome. I think that most people would agree that are Mandalorian fans. This is a very strong episode that really sets the character up in the world very nicely. Total badass. He's like all business, no problems doing what he needs to do, and it sets up the character so nicely, and the 40 minutes just goes just by so quickly. It's just a quick episode in the sense of you're so immersed in it and you're enjoying it that it's over before you know it. So it was cool to go back and see the first episode again after all these years.
Yeah, and Nick, important information to mention here about this episode. This was the first piece of original content on Disney Plus when the service launched in 2019. This was like the headline show when it came out here. The big cliffhanger teased you up to want to stick around as they dropped the second episode three days later as part of a Friday release drop here. And the first episode ever directed by Dave Filoni.
Yep, I remember the day that it came. I remember I think I watched in the morning before work, but I like wasn't paying full attention, so I was getting ready for work, and then I watched it again that night. But I remember like being so like into Disney Plus, like I remember knowing it was coming and like trying to like tell people like Disney Plus is coming, there's a Star Wars show and this and that, and then I guess I didn't realize at the time what even going back and watching this episode and putting myself in my shoe like the shoes of myself from back then, I didn't realize that um watching the episode it's not just a weekly buddy show. I think I was kind of expecting that for some reason, like a show that I guess what I'm trying to say is a show that didn't really carry continuity from week to week.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting just like random Mandalorian missions, and I was very wrong as we've developed multiple spin-offs and a movie and a whole universe around it. But I remember thinking that at the time in 2019 that it was just going to be like a one-off episode every week about solving crimes in the galaxy.
Yeah, that's true. And we're gonna bounce around a little bit, kind of like we did when we did the One Way Out with Kyle Katarn. Everybody's watched this episode, so I'll throw to you, Nick, first. Like, what's something you want to talk about from this episode?
The tone and the pacing, more the pacing than the tone, but it's slow and in a good way. It's slow in a good way, and it builds itself. It's what really happens. Like he gets a guy, he brings him. Okay, he gets a mission. He goes and does the mission. That's about it, right?
Yeah, he gets to like the point where he like finds the bounty for the mission. That's where we
Yeah, it's like in a nutshell, not much happens in the episode.
yeah.
Although I guess you could argue the opposite. You could argue that he got a mission and succeeded on the mission in one episode when that could have taken three if they really wanted to drag it out. But the point is, it moved slowly. There wasn't a lot of action. I guess there was, but not like what we're used to seeing in Star Wars type of action. It's much more grounded,
Yeah.
and it really. I'm not sure in 2019 before we watched this episode if we knew when it was going to take place, but they made it really clear in the episode when it takes place. Like they really said it a few times that like the Empire's gone, the Empire's no more. Like they really wanted you to stick that home and like make sure everyone understands when this took place.
Yeah, and P, I will give this episode a lot of credit too for like the pace, like just dropping you into like the story and like not taking like, like 10 minutes, like, oh, like this is who he is. This is what he does. You sort of watch along and like they want you to sort of like follow along and just go through this guy's life, like and see the stuff he's dealing with and sort of pick up some of his like things, his eccentricities that way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the top of this discussion, it's a great character introduction and a story builder or world builder in 40 minutes. You don't need the backstory. You kind of get the backstory as things go on, and it's natural, and you get the vibe of what the Mandalorian is. We don't know his real name at this point. We don't know, a lot of stuff going on. So we know that Mando is all business. He's a badass, and you just kind of watch him do his work.
Yeah. I also, Nick, I will throw out here, I love the way you get introduced to him, where like he first shows up and we see the Mithril getting beaten up by the guys in the bar. He walks in, the shot they frame of him like in the door where everything else is dark, you see him standing there is really cool. And then like he just like goes in, kicks ass, takes names without words, and you think, oh, this is a cool guy. And then when you see the Mithril there, and he's like, oh wait, this is a bounty hunter. And then he's like, his first line is, I can bring you in warm, I can bring you in cold. And they do a lot with Pedro Pascal not talking and just sort of like doing the mannerisms. That really like adds to his cool factor.
Two things to add. One is usually in shows and movies now, uh, they like start off a movie or a show like the opening scene with the villain and he establishes himself and then you're like, "Oh God, that's who we got to deal with." Like take for example The Dark Knight with the Joker robbing the bank in the beginning and Avengers Infinity War with Thanos killing Loki. It's like that opening scene is big for like introducing your villain. I
Yeah.
think they did the same thing in a couple, and I don't remember all the beginnings of all the Star Wars movies, but like especially I think they did it in The Rise of Skywalker too. They introduced Palpatine inexplicably, but they did. Um, they didn't do that in this. They introduced you to the hero the same way to make him look like a badass, which was kind of to show you that at this point in his life, he's not the quote unquote like what we think of as good guy. He's just a bounty hunter. But we're seeing this from his point of view, so he's our protagonist, even if he's not the good guy. And the second thing I wanted to bring up was like with Pedro Pascal, was this the role for him that made him Pedro Pascal? Like obviously he was in Game of Thrones, he was in a couple other things as well, he was in Narcos, but he wasn't Pedro Pascal until this, right?
I would say I would agree with that. I think like we didn't really put Pedro Pascal in the stratosphere, like where he's in everything now until he did this show.
And the reason I bring that up is when you hear him speak, especially that line you mentioned, he's like, I could bring you in warm or I could bring you in cold. It like speaks to me. And I'm like, wow, I hear Pedro Pascal in there. But I feel like in 2019, I didn't think twice of who I was hearing. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And Pete, this is a point in the series also where we're not going to see Pedro Pascal's face for a long time. So the work he's able to do with just like his voice and like his motions in the suit tells you it does a lot to show you how good an actor he is, even without being able to see him.
100%. And I think the one of the things I criticize about the Mandalorian show as a whole is that he kind of loses that luster. We get too much of the Mandalorian, I feel like, and when it comes to terms of dialogue in seasons 2 and 3, when in season 1 it's a lot of like you said, body language and what's not being said. So 100%, I think Pedro Pascal kills it in even just the non-verbal cues and the way he portrays his character without any speaking lines or minimal.
Yeah, and I did love the sequence on the ship with the Mythrol, like where he's running around, like, and he's like trying to con his way out of the situation. Oh, like I gotta go to the bathroom. I haven't done this, and like Pedro Pascal just says nothing. He's doing head turns, and then all of a sudden he just turns around. And he's like, "Up, you loose," and like just sort of like throws him in his mobile carbonite unit, which I think is a fun like sort of way, like, yeah, you're not getting the drop on this guy.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I thought that was that going Nick or me?
Doesn't matter. Just start throwing it out there.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
No,
I
I
thought it, I
agree.
thought it was to Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, and P, anything you want to discuss from this episode right now?
Yeah, I mean, if I may just really go into the hot take, I think this episode overhypes season 1 probably way too much.
Yeah,
I think that without us knowing, this episode was what was wrong with Star Wars shows up until Andor.
yeah,
And to me, they gave you everything at once, and then you sit there and go, what are you going to do for 7 episodes?
yeah,
And that was this episode. Like it reminded me instantly of Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, like all these shows that came before Andor. Like, okay, you gave me everything. He completed the mission literally in 20 minutes. What are we doing for 7 more hours or whatever it is? And you know, if I'm remembering correctly, this is mostly what happens in the season, and you have like the little missions keep the child safe. So it I'm curious to see as we watch throughout the season, but I feel like this episode was like the oh, you got us, like what's gonna happen to wait, this is what happens all season long, and then we do it again for another season, then the child goes away. So it again, I think this was the start of something that we didn't realize, which was the problem with Star Wars shows, um, for 3 or 4 of them after this one.
yeah. Nick, I will say in terms of Pete's commentary here, I do feel like that, like, yes, like this season does have the overarching thread of like Mando trying to keep the child safe, but like they do accelerate the plot to a point where like we could have stretched this mission out for 3 episodes. We did it in one, so like now we're sort of like, okay, like we're gonna go on adventures and see like what his like lifestyle's like when he's saddled with this kid and doing all of this. So I do think like this is really the only time in the show we get to see him as an independent operator for the most part until like Book of Boba Fett's season 2, episode 5.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Um, like I said, I thought this was going to be like a weekly buddy buddy type of show, and it wasn't. And this episode kind of is the only one that is, and that's only because it's the first one, and the other ones just don't follow suit. They
Yeah.
continue along a story, which is a pretty good, very good story in my opinion. And it's. I'm not sure if you guys just mentioned this, but it's like the first of the shows that it seems like every show is now, where it's an older guy taking care of a child.
Yeah.
Seems like every single show, Star Wars and not Star Wars, is that now.
Yeah. Does seem like that. I just feel like that's going on a lot here. And you do get like a lot of brutality in the Mandalorian too, where he's like breaking guys' arms. He's using the door in the canteen on the ice planet to bisect the guy. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
think I think that adds to my point of overhyping the show. We'll watch the season over so I can, but I don't remember things happening that way with Mando after getting the child. Like I remember there being violence, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
So it just again, it just seems like there's just so much like, holy shit, this is gonna be a crazy show to we just kept the child safe for 7 episodes and it's just running away the whole time. So it, we'll watch through the season. We'll get a more in-depth memorization and reminding me of how it went. But it just seems like such an overhyping episode.
Yeah. Nick, any thoughts on the rendezvous when after he goes to meet Grief Karga and collect his bounties and you can see like this is all small potato stuff for him. This is where we really get the beaten down, like, oh, the Empire's gone, their credits are worthless, and then like he gets this like mission, like, okay, like this is a sort of off the books, high paying client, not the usual way. And then we go meet our Imperial Remnant group with the client played by Warner Herzog. We see Dr. Pershing for the first time, and we get this mission here. I do think this is a fun way, like where we do see the swagger of Mando come out, where like he has 4 stormtroopers with guns pointing at him, and they're like, "We have you at number 4." He's like, "I like my odds in this situation." And after watching what he did in the bar, you're like, "Yeah, I kind of do like his odds."
Yep. Yep. And to think that he could have, like, as simple as this whole thing was, it could have been like, what I'm trying to say is Grief Karga gave him the choice. He's like, do you want this or not? He could have just said no, and none of this stuff would have happened.
Yeah, but he wants to.
Grogu would have died.
Yeah,
I guess IG-11 would have found him, right?
you think because the IG was kind of screwed before Mando showed up.
True, so he might have died too. Then the Empire might have got him, but either way, it would not be the way it is now. And all it took was for him to say no.
Capitalism, Pete.
No, he wanted that money.
Yeah,
He was gonna grab it.
yeah, yeah, and that Beskar.
Well, he didn't know that was coming yet. He only thought, because Grief Karga was like, oh, it's got deep pockets. Like these guys got deep pockets. They'll take care of you. I think the best scar is like a little added bonus that he wasn't expecting.
Yeah, and I will say also a great shout to see the late great Carl Weathers up back on our screen again, and it's gonna be fun to see the progression of Carl Weathers' wardrobe as he gets like more sophisticated as the show goes on. Because right now he's just running the Bounty Hunters Guild on Navarro.
Right.
Yeah. One other thing I want to throw out here from this episode, just before we get to the big battle at the end here, Pete, the sequence with Keel. I do think it's a fun one to sort of like give you a different perspective on like Mando as he gets to this planet where he's trying to find the bounty and like he runs into Keel and like Keel giving him lessons on like sort of like how to ride the creature, sort of like you're a Mandalorian, your people rode the mythosaurs back in the day. We get the line drop in this episode. I do think fun to see Keel and remember how great a character he is and the great line I have spoken.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that his reaction to why he's helping Mando, I think, is the best part of his character.
Yeah.
He just wants the crap to stop with the outpost. And he's like, that's why I'm helping you. I just don't want this anymore. We came here for peace and we don't have peace. So it's very, I want to say real. It's not real. It's Star Wars. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's a real life issue for that character. And it's not just, I'm going to help you because you're on my planet and I'm an NPC. So I'm here to help you. It's at least there's some sort of backstory as to why he's so adamant of, okay, I'll help you do this because I'm ready for this stuff to just leave. I'm done. This is not the life I want.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think about our heel appearance here? Because like he is sort of like a very wise presence, and like Pete says, like he has a goal in mind where he's like, okay, like there's like scum and villainy ruining my planet. Clear out the scum, and like you'll get your job done. I'll get peace.
Honestly, he's just a good dude.
Yeah,
He really is. Like he just wants to help. Like he sees it's mutually beneficial for both of them, but he's just a good dude. He just wants to help out.
yeah. It comes to a point. We'll talk about this Nick next week when like Mando offers him a job. He's like, I don't like. I appreciate it. I respect your offer, but like I want to be free and just like be my own man, and I don't need to help you right now. So. I believe, at least I remember that being next week.
Right.
And I do love the sequence where he's training Mando to ride the creature. That was fun. I think it was the Blurgs. I think is what they were called.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And final action sequence I want to talk about here, like the the team up with IG-11, like we get the tease early in the episode that Mando hates droids. We don't really learn why for a while, but like seem to have to work with IG-11 and like them taking down all those like all those like random like criminals who are hanging out in the complex. I think was fun, especially like the shot when he grabs the rotating like gun and basically just mows down like six, like at least like 16 or so like bad guys. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
It it's cool, but it seems like episode 8 material, not 1.
Yeah.
Like that scene, right, where ultimately we find the child is like that should be the end of season 1. Like he finally teams up with a droid, even though he doesn't want to. He's more comfortable with them. He's working with them. This huge fight in an outpost, finds the child, and we find out it's like the same species as Yoda. But that's episode 1, not 8. And it boggles my mind that that part was the end of a 39-minute runtime episode 1.
Yeah, the thing you have to remember though, P, is that this is not like a weekly TV show. This is like launching a streaming service, and like we need something exciting to keep the people on the service. So like this is
I
a
hear you.
is exactly why you get that.
Listen, I hear you, but I think, and you guys can disagree with me if you want, but I think you get that same effect with doing more episodes as Mando alone, being the mysterious character, doing really badass stuff, doing some like messed up stuff to people, right? Like the door closing on the guy and all that stuff. I think you hook them in just on the who's he trying to find, right? Like you can hook people in on that. And again, I hear you and agree with you. That's probably what Disney's approach to this was. But but it became the model of every single Disney show. And honestly, I think this show suffered from it because we get to season 3 of Mando, and it got to be honest, not much is happening. Not that great. So, there's I think there's a lot to be said on both sides.
There's a whole separate conversation about the season 3 problem. But like we're not going to do that today. But
No, no.
It's
Nick,
not a conversation. It's simple. Boba Fett. That's all it is.
yeah, we can talk about that problem here. But like the thing I will also mention here, Nick, going back now and getting the moment where we see Grogu for the first time. We don't know his name at this point in the show. Like we all we know is that like from the client that they're seeking a 50-year-old. They open up the little pram. They realize, oh, this is like a baby, and IG-11's like ready to kill the baby. And Manny makes the choice. He kills IG-11 to bring the kid in alive, and you get the iconic shot of them like reaching out with the fingers to touch it. It's like been duplicated everywhere. So crazy still think about back in the day that like they passed up all the merch opportunities for this character for the first season to keep that secret. Like, how does that reveal hold up to you, like on the rewatch?
Great. I mean, at the time, I remember being very upset about it
Yeah,
because, as you know, as we all know, the Yoda species is unknown. We
yeah,
know nothing of them. And I thought this was going to be them telling us. And I was like, oh my God, the first show, they're going to just break that rule. Like, don't do that. And they didn't. They did a great job at not telling us.
yeah,
A fantastic job. I still have my theory on how this whole thing ends. That they keep saying to bring him to his people, and he keeps thinking that means the Mandalorian or the Jedi. I think it means his species.
yeah,
But that's for that's for the Mando movie and another topic or down the line, the Filoni movie if we ever get that. Hopefully we do. Um, the reveal though holds up well to me. I see your point though. They missed out on some merchandise options or opportunities because as you know, when that merchandise eventually did hit stores and websites and whatnot, it still hasn't stopped selling.
yeah,
Everywhere you go, you see it. I forgot where I was recently. But man, where was I? I'm gonna remember it and I'll come back. But I saw someone with a just a Yoda on their shoulder.
yeah,
I was just in public. I was somewhere like not anything to do with movies or Star Wars. And someone just had a Yoda on their shoulders.
yeah.
I think I was just like a carnival, like a fair.
Maybe.
I guess someone may have won the toy. Now that I think about it, someone may have won that toy and then put it on their shoulder. That's all right. Yeah, now that makes sense to me actually.
Yeah, Pete, I think I still, like I said, I respect the creative choice to keep that a secret and prioritize that over the money they probably sacrificed in the Christmas season of 2019 with all the toys they could have sold, the plushies of Baby Yoda. But like, I think this is still like the iconic moment of this show before like until the season two finale.
Doesn't that bother you though?
Yeah. That this is the shot that you remember.
Right. Like, I mean, not just that. Like, just think about what you just said. This is the most iconic part other than the last episode of season two. So you have 15 episodes in between 1 and 16, whatever,
Yeah.
and I get it. You're bookending iconic moments. That's fine. Look, at the end of the day, business decision wise, even though they lost out on the holiday season, they still made a ton of money on merchandising. Like Nick says, it's everywhere. It's never going to go away. Baby Yoda is going to be something that's talked about to the end of time at this point, probably. I mean, he's just everywhere, right? But it's still just like I said, this was the first episode. You have this huge reveal. It is kind of disappointing it gets in season one, episode one. To me, even if you do it episode seven, episode eight, whatever it is, like you could have led into season two so much like more like, wait, what we got a Baby Yoda and now I want to watch season two. Like you could have really done something with it. Look, they were very successful both seasons. What I'm saying is obviously not, gospel, but damn, just to have to say the iconic moments were the bookends, episode one and episode 16 is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, again, though, I think Nick, this goes back to our earlier point. Like, this is not like your traditional like television show. This is we have to sell a streaming service, and like this episode came out on a Tuesday. It made people want to stick around until Friday to see like what the hell is going on here after these two meet up.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure a bunch of people didn't have Disney Plus or didn't even know about it on the 19th of November. And then they saw all over the internet, Baby Yoda, Yoda's baby, child, whatever, this, that. And then they said, I gotta sign up for this.
Yeah, I gotta watch the show.
Yeah, what the hell? What is this? Is another Yoda? I gotta watch this.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely a wild ending of the show here. Anything else you guys want to cover before we sort of wrap up?
Nope.
Not here.
All right, so we're gonna do some of the stuff we do weekly on the recap shows, just to sort of round out our books. We're not doing the trackers because Nick and I took care of that in 2023 when we did Mando season three. We went back and watched one and two, then did quick hit summary shows and did trackers. Then we're not doing that. We're
You
gonna.
said Nick and I. Did Pete not do that?
I don't think Pete did that.
Oh.
I was benched.
Oh, okay.
I
All
remember.
right.
I don't know. I probably was like away or something. I don't know.
I know Pete had like some hockey like crazy scheduling. I remember going on at that time.
Oh.
We were doing them all in a week, so we were watching 8 episodes like in a week, which I think was too much for Pete's schedule at that point.
Yeah, there's
I
no.
kind of remember. I kind of it's kind of ringing a bell because I'm sitting here and I'm watching the episode and I'm like, I definitely watched this like 2 years ago. We did this on the podcast. Did we not do this? So that makes sense now.
We did the whole season. We didn't do stop
Yeah,
doing for individual episodes.
makes sense now.
All right, so we do here the MVP and the LVP of the week. Is there anybody who's not giving it to Mando this week? The MVP.
No,
Yeah,
I'm giving Mando.
it's gonna be Mando for me.
All right, LVP, more fun. P, who is the LVP of this episode?
Pershing for almost getting himself killed. Just like walking in willy-nilly. That's every character was strong in this episode, so that's the only character I can think of that was just like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I remember. Like, I did love the line from Werner Herzog's Imperial Client. Like, I apologize for my colleague's lack of decorum.
The writing for that character, I forgot how good it was.
Yeah.
It hits so differently, and it has that almost like Empire-ish kind of feel, even though the Empire's not there anymore, especially with like all the old stormtroopers like around him and stuff. So you still get that Imperial feel. But yeah, the writing was I love the writing for that character.
Nick, who's your LVP?
I'm gonna go with the they never named him. The guy from the beginning,
The Mythrol.
the Mythrol. He was pretty funny, but he seemed too casual for me for a prisoner.
He was trying to talk his way out of the whole situation. He was failing miserably.
Yeah.
I did love though, like when he first sees Mando after Mando beats up the guys and he tries to pull his credits back. He's like, you know what? Like, thank you. You've done such a kind thing. He sees his walker. He's like, okay, you could have my credits. Just like trying to talk his way out of it.
Yeah, he's funny. I just feel like he's too casual.
Yeah. All right. So for my LVP, I think I'm gonna go with IG-11 because like the droid had no plan whatsoever other than like, hey, I'm with the guild. I claim this. Step out of my way. And then like he was gonna get himself destroyed. Man didn't show up.
Yeah, IG-11 is a good choice too.
And Mando just ends up like shooting him in the head anyway because he
Yeah,
had
I mean, there are many times that he went out of his way to try to ruin everything.
yeah. So IG-11 here. We'll grade the episode now. Scale 1 to 10. 1 is worse than 970 holidays. 10 is up there with the Gorman Massacre arc of Andor for Pinnacle of Star Wars live action content. So Nick, what's your grade for this episode?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Okay.
It's really, really good. It's just when we talk about prison breaks and Gormans and eventually like actually we're not gonna do season. I guess we'll do season 2 eventually, but like chapter 16 of Mando, like those are our tens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, season 2 we're starting in January.
And what's the other one that I love so much? The one that I talked with you on the podcast originally. Oh, the one where Boba Fett comes to town and the Razor Crest blows up.
Yeah, like
Those are tens.
when Robert Rodriguez teases, I think he can actually do Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with an 8 on this one. It's a very solid entry to the show. It's a little slower paced, but like get a ton of action. It's a lot of fun here. I do enjoyed it. So Pete, you can wrap up the grades here.
Yeah, I'm at 8.5 as well. I think that there is definitely better Star Wars. Pretty much what Nick said to mimic him, but also too, I think there's a lot more better episodes in Mando, like Nick said, but I also think that there's a lot more that could have been done in the episode. So 8.5.
Yeah, the way I look at this episode, so it's like this was basically a 2-part premiere, and like you got cut right in half basically. You had to wait 3 days in the real time for the next episode.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll be back next week. We're gonna do chapter 2 next week. We're gonna talk about the child next week. So we're going to see what happens. Talk about how this holds up next week because you remember the premiere, remember how it ends, and like even though I watched videos, I don't remember how chapter 2 goes. I don't remember when like the big like turn is. I even remember there's like some sort of like side questy element involved in this one.
I remember the frog lady. That's not here. That's Pete's episode.
That was Pete's first time talking Star Wars with me. Was Frog Lady. We'll get to that in probably early January.
Ridiculous.
All right, so I thank you guys for coming on here. Really appreciate it. Pete, people want to follow you on social media. How can I do that?
At Consy29 on Twitter, CONSY29. AP Tower 308 posted this background on Reddit, so make sure you check them out.
Nick, one more time. If you want to follow social media, how can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast, all over social media.
Also throw in here, email us at skyguyspod@gmail.com if you have any feedback as well. If you want to leave your thoughts in written form, you can do that. You can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. Visit over on the Just on the Suffering podcast. Nick actually stopped by. We wrapped up our Squid Game conversation, talk season 3.
Yeah, that was a great conversation.
It was.
Still have not watched it yet.
Yeah.
Season 3 or any of it?
Season 3. I'm caught up until the new season, but definitely excited to watch it.
Yeah, you can binge it pretty quick. Like I'm curious when you're done with it. Text us and let us know what you thought of it.
How many episodes? 8?
Only 6.
6. Ooh,
Yeah, they're a little longer, but
that's still not bad.
The way I look at it is that it should have been a 13 episode season 2. They just chopped it in half just so they could have 2 drops.
Yep.
Sure.
Because remember, season 2 ends in the middle of the second version of the Squid Game.
Right.
And you basically go to the end here.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, we'll be back next week. Chapter 2 coming up with a guest next week. TBD on who the guest is. But until then, may the Force be with you.